Hi, this is my review of Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Dungeon Tiles Master Set The Dungeon. This is a collection of tiles that are pretty generic but very useful. They can be used to play different Dungeons & Dragons versions of the game. You could also use them with other fantasy games, but they are very good for Dungeons & Dragons games. And I guess you could also use them with modern RPGs. Perhaps you're playing a horror game and your characters are going inside a haunted castle or whatever. So they're quite flexible. There are many ways in which you can use them. Well, let's talk about the qualities of the product. Well, this is just the sleeve. I opened the box already so I can have all the different tiles and I can show you the variety of them. It comes with this paper sleeve, and it's good quality paper. And the box itself that contains the tiles is quite useful if you want to give like a 3D effect to your game, because as you can see, it's all decorated as tiles. It looks like a tile, and the sides of the box looks like dungeon walls. You could open the box and create different levels to give more like a 3D effect to your dungeons. So that's quite handy, and the quality is great. It's really thick cardboard, and the paint won't come off. It's just really good quality, and especially if you're going to be moving heavy metal miniatures or plastic miniatures with I don't know, some rough edges, it really won't damage the different tiles. Now let's talk about a few of the tiles that come within the box. Each tile is double-sided. So for example, on this side you have this huge throne that looks like a throne for a giant or maybe an ogre, and on the other side just generic tiles. This one looks like kind of like sarcophagus on one side, and on the other side generic tiles. There are many tiles that are kind of like that. Here you have like a statue, and this tile could also serve to represent a golem if you want to. This looks like a wooden section of the floor, and on the other side generic tiles. You have this huge set of descending steps or ascending steps, depending on when you place them. You have this one that looks kind of like a poisonous cloud. You have a set of beds, kind of like guard beds or something, and they have a small chest down there. Pretty large dinner table. This kind of looks like a spell effect. Could be like a water spell or something. This section looks like a jail, or maybe the animal pens, or it could be used in many ways, because as you can see on this side there's like a torture apparatus, and there are also many like jails or cells and pens. There's even like fur and blood and some place to get water from. You have this large pool, or kind of like a Roman bath sort of tile, like a wizard's or alchemist's lab. There are some pretty big tiles. You have all this section of generic tiles, and on the other side you have coffins or sarcophagus. You have this set of steps. You also have little tiles like this one that on one side is kind of like a corpse, and on the other side it's kind of like a scrying pool, some kind. You have a magical circle, this statue on one side, and on the other side you have the same statue but it's broken pieces. You have sort of like an altar or temple. It kind of looks like a Ravenloft prop. You have checkered tiles on one side, and on the other side you have tiles with some sort of arcane decoration. You have some huge double doors, and on the other side they are open. You also have like sort of like a cage, and on the other side it's kind of like a pit. Also have spider webs that could be used to represent the web spell. You have like particulars of some sort, some rounded alcoves or niches. You have a bookshelf, and on the other side again like a pit or some sort of trap. Also have another spell effect, kind of looks like a fireball. A set of double doors, and they are open. Steps, some weird arcane thing, and a ladder. Some rubble or debris or broken columns. A table. And some sort of crevice. And there are many more tiles. They're quite flexible. There are many tiles that could represent traps and tiles for different occasions. They're mostly for rooms that aren't very elegant because they look quite old and sometimes they have cracks. So even though they are generic, they seem to fit more in the ancient castle theme of things. And so let me talk about what I think about these tiles. I think these tiles are pretty good because, well, they're quite sturdy. You can move miniatures around and all over them, and they won't get scratched, and the paint is going to stay the same. And they're quite handy for different types of scenarios, not just inside a castle. For example, the different tables and the spell effects could fit in other types of environments. And with a bit of imagination, you can just use them for whatever place that you like. You could use them to represent some caverns, although there are cavern tiles sold separately. They could represent caverns or maybe haunted houses, icy towers, whatever you can think of. I think that the only real disadvantage is that, for example, if you like to have your dungeon pre-generated before the session, you're going to need 2 boxes of tiles because the tiles are double-sided. Sometimes you're going to want to use the different features on each side of a single tile, and you're going to need 2 boxes if you want to create like a huge dungeon. But if you're someone who likes to describe things, just the essential things, so for example, maybe you're just describing corridors and different rooms, and when you get to a room that there's going to be a very important combat, or maybe it's a puzzle room or a room filled with a lot of specific traps, then you're not going to need 2 boxes because you're not going to have the whole thing built from the start. You're going to build different rooms as you need them, and when you're done with that room, you're going to remove those tiles from the table. So it depends on your style of play, and of course these tiles are mostly for those of you who play with miniatures. If you don't play with miniatures, These tiles are just going to be useful to perhaps you want like to plan things on a 3D way and not just writing I don't know, drawing your dungeon map on a piece of paper. And these tiles will allow you to represent the different dungeon rooms in a more I don't know, large scale sort of way. But if you play with miniatures and if you play fantasy role-playing games, you should get these tiles, and they're quite useful as well. If, for example, you play skirmish games, you have a bunch of different terrains, so they're quite good, and I like them a lot. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.